Okay, let's see. AR-15, always good to bring that. Shotguns, could always use enough of.
Joe!
Oh, hi, Professor Shadow, what's up?
Are you ready for the Mario Super Sluggers Summer Games?
What?
It's gonna be like a sequel to like when we did Wii Sports Summer Games. Like we're just gonna play a game together and act like a bunch of idiots the whole time.
Oh, gee, Ben, I'm sorry. I gotta go back to the skeleton crypt. The old skeleton army's causing a riot or something.
Isn't it supposed to be like a utopia down there?
I thought so too, but you know, shit happens.
Oh, well how long are you gonna be down there?
I don't know. I guess indefinitely. I was actually planning to spend more time there anyway, so I guess this riot gives me more of an excuse.
Ooh, I know, maybe I can come down there with you. I haven't been down this skeleton crypt for a long time.
No offense, but this is a tense situation. Well, I don't know if you'd really be helping.
Oh. Okay then. See you around, Joe. Looks like it's gonna be another duo episode. Oh well, at least it's better than it being just me, huh?
Yes, I'll be there. In 45 minutes I'm just about to leave.
Hey, review bot!
How's it going, Professor?
You ready to do Mario Super Sluggers Summer Games? Joe had to leave, so it's just gonna be us this
I
time.
apologize, Professor, but I will be unable to assist you in that task.
Why the hell not?
I'm about to go visit Elon Musk. He wants to study my artificial intelligence, and also we are discussing a new SpaceX project.
I mean, can't you just email him a part of your artificial intelligence or something? I mean, you're very flexible being a piece of technology. You could do something like that.
No, he really wants to examine the whole thing. He said I'm the most amazing piece of technology the world has ever seen.
Well, I mean, wouldn't he maybe want to meet with me as well? I mean, I am the one that built you after.
No time, he's on a tight schedule and we have lots of work to do. Sorry to disappoint, but I have to go. Looks like my spaceship is here.
Elon Musk is picking him up in a fucking spaceship. Oh, shit. I had one thing I want to fucking do today.
I'm Peppa Pig. This is my little brother George.
Oh look, it's one of those kid shows. I hate those. All they do is teach kids that the world is all happy and great. Well, it isn't. It sucks. Wish there was a way to ruin those kid shows. Make them much more darker and cynical. Make them more like totally appropriate renditions of life and our thoughts and fears of adults, compared to back when we were... Fuck it. Today's video is about Shed 17, okay? Back in 2015, I reviewed Thomas and the Killer Cars, a really weird and creepy Thomas video on YouTube. Only a few months later, we get Shed 17 that makes my comment on Thomas and the Killer Cars being the scariest Thomas video to be BS. I was originally going to look at other weird Thomas videos first, but I actually got this one requested. And also, I don't really want to be known as the guy who just reviews weird Thomas YouTube videos, unless that makes me the big bucks. So even though I knew about this since the week it was released, here's my review almost 3 years later. Damn it, I forgot the internet, my place sucks, and oh, it's just his logo. So Shed 17 is a mockumentary, aka a documentary based on something fictional, about the events that took place in the Thomas universe from the end of World War II to the mid-80s. Although most of the story takes place in the 1980s, some of the basic information is told from an unknown narrator, but most of the movie is told from the perspective of a scientist, Dr. Ruth, and a fireman, Keith Hartley, who actually experienced the events firsthand. They tell their story through interviews that are actually interlaced with digital recreations of events and real footage. One question that's never really explained is how the original Railway series is canon with this movie. Although the original show was created in the 80s, and obviously the basis behind the movie, the Railway series was written in the 1940s up to the 70s. So how the hell can books be written years before true events? That's like if someone were able to write a book about the American Civil War, with every detail being perfectly accurate during James Buchanan's presidency. The only real explanation they can come up with is that in this universe, the Railway series was written alongside the TV show. First off, we see the history of Sodor, the setting for the film. This eventually would be the home for Wilhelm Goetz, a German scientist. Apparently, while Wilhelm gave the impression of being an innocent German scientist and a family man, in reality, he actually had a very dark history, particularly with the Nazis, and even had close relations with Adolf Hitler himself. Eventually, Wilhelm's son Hans went on to study in the field of science and engineering as well. His greatest discovery was biofusion, or how to splice mechanical parts with human DNA. Can you see where this is going? Okay, if you can't, then just wait a second. Hans eventually founded Sodor Research, a large complex where he could pursue his work without the British government snooping around. Eventually, Hans got married and even had a kid. So enlighten me. Who was this child?
Baby Thomas was born in 1968.
Can you see where this is going now? Okay, I'll give you a hint. We have just established that there is a way to combine human genetics with machinery, and also we have a child named Thomas, who looks suspiciously like a certain train we all know. If you can't already see where this is going, then I am amazed how you've got this far in life. Eventually we are introduced to the newest head of the ever-expanding railway, Sir Topham Hatt himself. Hey, I know this guy. Oh, I bet this railway's in great hands. I mean, he ran the railway expertly in the original TV show.
Fat bastard.
Hey, come on now. How bad could this guy possibly be?
Oi, get off my f***ing platform!
Oh, dear. On a different note, Thomas and his friends are on the tracks right now. Well, I guess I should let you guys know something. If you take Thomas really close to heart and haven't been desensitized by the internet's wickedness, then you should probably stop watching this right now, cause this shit has only just begun. Too bad this newspaper is just song lyrics. Hans and his father locked themselves into the complex, never to be seen for over a year. Also, they took the body of Thomas in there with them. No funeral was ever arranged for little Thomas. And, also, Shed 17 was entirely restricted to the outside. Despite this, though, more and more supplies were still being sent to the lab. What could be the purpose of this? Well, if you're ready to have your childhood raped, I'll tell you.
In addition to the people of the island, Thomas rolled out of Shed 17.
Yes, you heard that right, people. Thomas the Tank Engine is a dead child who is reanimated through complex mutation performed by his Nazi grandpa. Could I please have whatever Paul was on when he made this? I think I'm gonna need it. Perhaps caused by Hans' impulsive decision from his grief, as well as Wilhelm's mad scientist in him, the experiment was indeed real, and a success, I might add. The idea of bringing a dead child back to life and then turning him into a human train hybrid lit the world on fire. Lots of questions were arisen, like, would Thomas work on the railway like a regular engine? Well, the Gertzers said no. Not only because of the risks involved, but also because, he's a kid. Also, they denied all requests from people around the world, like the sick or disabled, or even wealthy celebrities to be biofused. So I guess that's it. Until Sir Topham Hatt gets involved. Basically, the fat didn't want all this money to go to waste, so he bought a huge share of Sodor Research for the purposes of changing its policies. Suddenly, this brand new form of experimentation would become mass-produced by any fucker willing to sell his soul to become a train.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, for one thing, not only did these biofuse engines need to be in working condition, but they also had to be fit to work on the railways. And it wasn't like this was optional if you wanted to work on the railways, you were actually required to. Also, a TV show was created about biofused engines. For some reason, people want to watch a show about mutilated freaks of nature created in a lab, I guess. Whatever though, it all seems good. You have a show people like, people get to become engines, which is what they wanted, and everything seems all nice and fine, isn't it? Well, the first one they tried was James, who unfortunately wasn't capable of typical railway work, which leads to the one fatal flaw, the one tiny little issue that brings this whole operation apart. You want to know what that is? Yeah, biofusion? It doesn't work! Like, at all!
To the kids on the platform.
Peep, peep, whistled Edward. Thank you very much.
So yeah, let's just see how these wonderful experiments play out. One example is Harold the helicopter. Although biofusion had worked okay, they couldn't let him fly. Well, why is that, you may ask? Well, let's just say Sodor Research has had a, history with diesel-powered vehicles.
Mavis the diesel engine was to be the first biofused locomotive used on the railway.
We fueled her up and everything seemed fine. Then things got out of hand.
The diesel began to burn her internal organs. Everything organic in the engine was soon burning.
Have you ever heard a locomotive scream in pain? We tried rinsing out the fuel tank with water, but by then it was too late.
Mavis's body would be kept under lock and key indefinitely. In an unexpected U-turn, Sir Topham Hatt would ban fueled engines from being used on the island.
Obviously, when the good man, Sir Topham Hatt, had seen all the mistakes done by biofusion, and even the deaths it caused, he decided to immediately cancel the whole thing. Or he would just keep trying over and over and over, even though people's lives were at stake here. That fat fuck didn't even give a shit that people were losing their lives of such pointless experiments. As long as it didn't hurt his bank account, he didn't care. He would even do everything in his power to keep every incident a complete secret. Hell, he'd even present dead people biofused into engines on display for people to see, trying to play off that the experiments were successful. Thankfully, they put that madness to an end after a little mishap. The weird thing is, though, despite all the problems that the engines had, Thomas still worked perfectly fine. Why did he work so well when everyone else was just a nightmare? Well, clearly, before you do any future experiments, you should take a lot of time to iron out the kinks and really understand what was going on with biofusion so you can make sure more people will get hurt. And you have to make sure you put in enough effort and research that every experiment will be a complete success. I mean, people's lives are at stake here. Or that fat fuck could sell biofusion to other countries? What the hell? Okay, so not only do you have an experiment that barely fucking works, but now you're going to sell this incomplete research to other countries for millions of dollars, even though you know the people are dying from this, and the countries you sell it to have even less resources to do experiments like this, which will lead to even more death. Also, these countries practically enslave their biofused engines, but you still sell it to them. You motherfucking top hat wearing piece of shit! Eventually, after realizing what his work has been turned into, Hodge resigned from the Sodor research. Now that fat f*** is in complete control. And what about old Wilhelm? Yeah, that makes sense. The next engine was Jordan, a massive engine that was so big that the idea of firing up seemed impossible. But in fact, Gordon himself insisted on working on the railway, so they had no choice. Let's just say it doesn't go well.
At first, Gordon complained about the heat. Then that turned to pleas to douse the fire.
But that fat bastard held us back. He wanted to see what would happen.
He argued he had put a lot of work into Gordon, and the chances to get him working were too great an opportunity. He was literally cooking from the inside. By the time we were allowed to act, it was too late.
I wasn't as near to him as some of them. All I could do was run. I was lucky to get away with some singed clothes. Others weren't so lucky.
The fateful few hours following the accident would seal the fate of Sodor research.
The fat stopped us trying to put out the fire, insisting that any evidence would fall back on us.
He kept repeating, "This was all your fault. You knew the dangers. You're legally to blame." He stopped us calling for ambulances or the fire brigade.
We told him, "These are injured people here. They're going to die unless we do something." But he kept saying, "No one from the outside can come in. No one can see this."
So basically, not only does this fat head keep firing up Gordon, even though he begged them to turn off the fire, leading from the violently and painfully dying explosion. but it also leads to the injuries of multiple innocent people who have only moments left to live from the incident that you caused. And then you don't even allow these injured people to get to a hospital because you can't let anyone know about your shitty experiments. But then you have the balls, the audacity to claim that it is everyone else's fault but yourself. Fuck you! Fuck you! I should have known you were a piece of shit. You may seem like a stern but nice leader, but in actuality you're a monster. A horrible, deplorable monster. You killed my favorite trains, you cunt! Thankfully, though, they do eventually decide to airlift the men to the hospital. However, they only have one helicopter. I bet you can guess what that helicopter is.
People aboard. Then it all went wrong.
Harold's engine had worked fine, but what no one realized was most of Harold's lower extremities were permanently fused to his propeller system. As Harold's rotor blades began to spin, vital organs would be drawn into the motor and tear him apart from the inside.
Well, that's unfortunate. Wait a minute. You can't just cover up a helicopter explosion, can you? And the news is here, so clearly they'll find out about this horrible shit that fat f*** has done. And he'll go to jail and everything will be good. Well, that's the end of Shed 17.
Henry Thierry was the only 420 gauge engine on the island.
Nope, it isn't over, is it? Henry was another bifused engine who was similar to Thomas as in that he actually worked. And he helped clean up the horrible remains of Gordon. But, one day, when they were working on the points, the complex accidentally diverted Henry into Shed 17. Nobody had seen what was in Shed 17 until now. Only Henry had seen it. And he was so horrified that he immediately bolted out of that shed. Perhaps being part of his morale, he decided to speak directly with the fat fuck about what he just saw. They screamed at each other for a bit, but eventually led to Henry making up the second worst decision of his life. The first, of course, being to even bring up this shit to the fat fuck.
And with one sentence, he sealed both their fates.
Henry only said one thing to him: stay away from Shed 17.
Soon Henry would be given a new job, to run the Flying Kipper, a line that was extremely dangerous, especially in the winter.
That fat shite always hated Henry. He didn't like his cheerful manner, and he clearly had other lifestyle choices when he was a human.
Okay, come on, it was pretty obvious that Henry was gay, not that big of a surprise. Unfortunately, the points got all fucked up and a horrible accident occurred.
Henry's driver and fireman had jumped clear before the crash.
In fact, Al and Barry died from their injuries. Slowly, in snow, the poor bastards.
Gee, looks like even Sodor had fake news. I will say, as sad as that it is kinda cool to see a crash in the Thomas universe with actual consequences. Most of the time it is either, luckily no one was hurt, or just some injuries that aren't permanent. To see actual death and devastation caused by a train crash is pretty dark. However, this was no accident. What if I told you that this crash was in fact premeditated? And who do you guess was responsible for this? That's right, the fat fuck who just flat out murdered 2 innocent people.
These images from a train spotter's camera were taken the evening before and were successfully covered up by the Sodor Railway Board for 10 years.
There was a railway spike in points, blocking them. Of course, that had disappeared by the time we got there.
But it gets worse! It gets way, way worse! In the fake version of this story, the fat fuck sends Henry to Crew, which he claims to be a place that can fix him. But that couldn't be any farther from the truth. The fat fuck had done it. He had gotten away with murder, and he didn't give a shit about how terrible that murder was.
Crew. We all knew what that meant.
They'll give you a new shape and a larger firebox.
Crewe was, at the time, one of only 2 scrap metal yards in the UK capable of handling and recycling organic material as well as engine parts.
You'll feel a different engine and won't need special coal anymore.
With those few words, he'd sentence Henry to death.
Won't that be nice? Yes, sir, said Henry doubtfully.
Everyone knew he wouldn't see him again, and everything was sewn up nice and neat for that fat
And I'll be honest, this is a pretty terrifying final note to this movie. May not have been the goriest kill, but it was definitely the most disturbing. You see, throughout the TARDIS canon, the idea of sending off sentient engines to scrap was always mentioned, but never fully seen. To finally see an engine screaming, begging for pain to stop, for like possible hours, as he is slowly taken apart, piece by piece. What could these people cutting him up be thinking? How did they even sleep that night knowing what they had done? They had brutally murdered an innocent man. Truly a terrible ending to this film. But wait, it isn't even over yet. How could it get worse? What could they have possibly left in store for us? Well, you see, Thomas soon learns about what happened to Henry and realizes that this is all over the information that he had. What could be in that shed that was so important that it cost the lives of 3 people? Were there answers? Thomas knew there was only one thing left for him to do. He had to go to Shed 17. He had to return to the place that he was created in. It was the only way. For some reason, this super secret shed that nobody had been in or allowed to go in, it had no security guards or something. Like, I guess any random train could just pull in one day. It's not even locked. I guess Soto just goes by the honor system. But inside Shed 17, the truth would be revealed. Why was it that Thomas, the first ever biofused engine, worked? The answer was simple.
Thomas had never been the first operation. He hadn't even been second.
What shed number 17 contained was evidence of several attempts to create a tank engine with Thomas's DNA. These had been early tests made by people with no experience of an experiment on this scale. Ill-planned and unprepared, these procedures had used DNA from the human Thomas and had been as much the real Thomas as the tank engine the world had come to know and love.
Thomas was not the first. He wasn't even close to the first. Little Thomas had been reborn and killed numerous times over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until he worked. Constantly being cloned and brought back from death to try and improve the experiment. Utter insanity went on in that shed, with Hans being forced to relive his son's death numerous times in order to get his experiment to work, trying again and again to do a seemingly impossible task, grounded on a theory that they had little research to even start an experiment of this scale. As bad as this may seem, at least all the other Thomas clones had died. At least Thomas got to live his life knowing that he was the real Thomas, the only Thomas. Sadly, this isn't the case either.
The following experiments had not had the same work put into them, resulting in the freak engines and aircraft that had developed so many problems on Sodor Island and around the world. In Shed 17, Thomas wouldn't discover who he was, but in fact, who he wasn't.
That's right. This whole time, all these years, there had been another Thomas, forced to live in a tank, alone, unable to scream, unable to get help, unable to live. For years, it had seen everything. It saw the day where Thomas had left Shed 17, and he saw when he returned. Thomas was looking at a spitting image of himself that he never knew about his whole life. Let's just say he loses it.
He had no idea he was only one of many clones. None of us did. But I guess as time passed, we stopped asking all the questions we had at first. We were just glad our friend was back with us. He could work for us. He became our servant in a way. Someone who drew in the crowds, helped create jobs, was eager to work. Thomas always thought of us as his friends. Sadly, over time we came to think of him as just really useful.
After this incident, the gig is up. The government investigates and finds everything that has been done over the years. This leads to finally the ban on biofusion. The madness that the island has been through ended in July of 1984, when a horrible incident occurs. Sadly, the fat disappears and is never heard of again. He most likely died, never having to face any repercussions for the crimes that he committed, as he'd be over 100 years old today. And Thomas is still in a specialist unit to this day, where he's undergone over 23 different reconstructive operations. While biofusion has been banned in the EU, as have been memes, China still uses biofusion for their political prisoners. And that is our final note. Or is it? A sequel is coming soon to this film known as Project G1. Perhaps there's more of the story. We'll have to wait to find out. Anyways, that was Shed 17, and I'm gonna be honest here, I think it's a masterpiece. It's probably the scariest and darkest thing ever done with a kids show, and the overall one of the most creative and well-made YouTube videos of all time. Although the animation models are not great, I think it sort of adds to the movie. It helps make things look very unsettling, almost unearthly. Paul does a fantastic job of turning Sodor to this fantasy world of wonder into a nightmarish hell on earth. Sodor is a dark and terrifying place in this movie, even its scenes that aren't meant to be scary. Overall, Shed 17 tells a fantastic story. It's dark, it's sinister, it's terrifying, it's just utterly amazing. Although there are some few minor plot holes and inconsistencies, I think they help really add to the whole incompleteness of this story, as it is told from memories and things. And a lot of this information was covered up anyway, so it does kind of make sense. Shed 17 still keeps you on the edge of your seat no matter what, and it doesn't let go until it's over. And it isn't just reliant on gore, jump scares, or the shock value of raping your childhood. It instead creates a creepy atmosphere and an insanely disturbing story to go along with it. Well friggin' done, Paul. Fuck you, Sir Time Hat. I have 3 words to describe you.
Disgraceful, disgusting, despicable.
And I can't wait for the sequel. And I'm still all alone now. So yeah, have a crappy day, I guess.
Get off my f***ing platform!